Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage. Today we're looking at the 2025 Tucson Preferred Trim. Now, the Preferred Trim in Canada, in the States, would be the, I believe, the SEL, so one trim level up from their base. In Canada, this is the lowest trim level you can get. So basically what you're going to see today is what you can get for your money compared to the competition in the entry-level price point on a compact SUV. Now what we're going to do is basically go over the entire car from front to back and then inside the vehicle as well. If this video helps you out, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm going to apologize in advance for the audio situation. I don't have my microphone, so audio is going to be loud and then it's going to be quiet, and then it's going to be loud and then quiet and loud and all over the place because yeah, I don't have a microphone on my lapel right now. Unfortunately, I'm fixing that issue. So next video, finally, it will be resolved. But anyway, let's go over this vehicle starting front, going to back. At the front here, as you can see, we have LED headlights and LED high beams. They are reflector style. We have the LED daytime running lights. They don't actually make this weird little kind of design in real life. You can't see that in real life. It's just a weird thing with the camera. On the front here, you can see we've got the forward-facing radar system, because even in this entry-level priced vehicle, this actually has adaptive cruise control, as well as, of course, autonomous emergency braking. Up there in the windshield, you can see we've got the forward-facing radar, or forward-facing camera for pedestrian detection, cyclist detection, etc. All of the, lane keep assistance, lane centering, all of the sort of safety technology that comes with one of those forward-facing cameras. Straddling the outside of the vehicle here, beside the lights, you can see we do have the air curtain pass-through, which of course creates that curtain of air over the front wheels to reduce aerodynamic drag. And a really, really beautiful design along the front here. Definitely stands out in the industry. Doesn't look like everything else, which is kind of nice. I'm going to go ahead and pop the hood and show you that what we have under here is a 2.5 naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. 2.5 liter. This is SmartStream technology, so it's got that continuously variable valve duration. It is a direct injection motor. And over here on the right, you can see we've got really, really easy access to the air filter. You get your battery there, fuse box, pretty simple. I do like how they kind of cover up the sides here to reduce a little bit of engine noise and road noise. You've also got insulation under the hood and insulation along the firewall. Lots and lots of structural adhesive use in this vehicle as well. Lots of advanced high-strength steel construction. So this is a top safety pick. It's a very, very safe vehicle. All right, coming around the side here, you can see we've got beautiful aluminum alloy wheels. Now on this particular vehicle, they're a 17-inch, so 235, 65, 17. The tires on this one are the Nexen Rhodian tires. They're, of course, an all-season tire, and they do the job. Looking a little bit further back, we can see we've got marker lights on the mirrors. There's also the blind spot icon in the mirror as well. This one, of course, does have proximity entry, so that's your little button there to enable and disable the locking system. And then inside of the handle, you've also got a little light that lights up as you approach the vehicle. Let's go further back, all the way to the back, and have a look at the tail. Now, the tail end of this vehicle, you can see we don't have LED tail lights, unfortunately, just incandescent bulbs in the rear lights here. But a really nice lighting profile nonetheless. Also, you'll note the window wiper is tucked up there, so you can't see it, so the aesthetic of the back end of the vehicle remains intact, which is kind of nice. We've got the backup camera right there. Let's open this up. And as you can see, quite a bit of space back here. If I remember correctly, it's 932 liters of space, which is huge in the industry. This is one of the best for cargo space. It's really, really good. And you can fold down the seats from here as well, which is kind of cool. So you just pull these little handles and there go the seats all the way down. So the seat back now is the same height as the floor of the trunk, which is kind of cool, but you can actually lower the trunk down to this other level right here. So if you need a little extra height, you can do so. Underneath the floor, no spare tire on this one. You can pull this out just for a bunch of extra space if you want. Right now it's just a little organizer here. You got your tire mobility kit, which of course is a pump and a spray. On the left, you can see we've got a 12-volt power outlet right next to an LED to light up the back end. Now, one thing to point out, at 6'2", I have enough space to stand underneath the hatch, which is kind of nice, especially for loading groceries or whatnot. You know, I can stand under here, I don't have to worry about banging my head, even on this compact SUV. All right, having a look at the second row here, the rear seat, you'll note if I push this down, it does actually lock into place. So if you're going over a bumpy road, that's not going to be bouncing around, but it is a single-handed movement to get the seat back up. You don't have to use two hands to do that, which is kind of nice. All right, so now I'll go ahead and sit in the back seat. Now I want you to remember that I do have the front seat placed where I would drive it. And as you can see, there is tons of space in front of my knees here, so no problems there at all. And check this out, the seat right now is in a very upright position. I can actually recline this quite a bit. There are 13 positions of recline on those rear seats. Also, I forgot to point out, when you put the seat down, the base of the seat actually kneels out of the way a little bit in order to give you a little bit more flat surface on top of the seat backs when the seats are down, which is kind of cool. Now, we do also have a center cup holder armrest, as you can see, and it is a nice cushioned armrest with a couple of cup holders there as well. Also to note back here, you do have backlit USB-C ports for some pretty quick charging, some vents back here, controls for the rear passengers to move the air around. You do have seat back pockets. What I'm a little disappointed to see is that there is no solid seat backs in like there is in most of our Hyundai vehicles. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Underneath the front seats though, lots of room for your feet, so that's kind of cool. And we do have grab handles in all four corners, and of course LED lighting back here up here, which is nice as well. All right, before we jump in the driver's seat, just a quick look at the passenger seat in this vehicle. The passenger seat basically just goes forwards and backwards, and then you can lean the seat back as well. Other things for the passenger include a nice little parcel shelf here for a phone or whatever. Of course, access to your vents. A lot of people ask what this is right here. That is just a temperature sensor for the climate control system, because this is dual zone automatic climate control, which I'll get to in a bit. All right, now unlike the passenger seat, the driver's seat is actually powered, which is nice. So that's a new addition for 2025, is a powered driver's seat. And as far as manipulation, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ways of adjustment on the power driver's seat. And this is kind of cool. Actually, you can tilt the seat up and down, and you can raise and lower the seat. So this obviously multiple functionality. On the left, on the door card here, just your typical controls for windows and mirrors, nothing too special. First set of buttons on the left here, you got your dimmer switch for your dashboard lighting and your power e-brake, as well as your traction and stability control. To the right of that, we have our nice leather-wrapped, fully heated steering wheel all the way around, which is kind of cool. And check this out, there's actually 2 levels of steering wheel heat, so you don't have to have it on scorching hot all the time. You can reduce the temperature. On the steering wheel itself, as far as buttons go, we have our adaptive cruise control buttons here, so set speed as well as turn on cruise control initially, increase speed, decrease speed, or pause and resume, and then our adaptive cruise control distance we can change from there as well. These two right here, they kind of go through this little center screen, which I'll get back to in a moment, and then this is for our lane centering and lane keep assist. Pressing it just once, releasing it right away, turns on and off lane centering, which is off by default. Holding it turns on and off lane keep assist, which is on by default or off by default, depending on how you have it set up in the system. All right, on the right-hand side here is all of the controls for the media system. So this is just for infotainment. It has nothing to do with the screen there. This just controls what's on that screen there. So I did do a separate video for our CCNC infotainment system, so I'm not gonna go too in-depth on that today, but I will link that video in the description below. But buttons on here include mode, which is where music comes from. You can kind of customize that, so FM, AM, Sirius XM, that sort of thing. Next track, previous track, or next preset, previous preset. This is a customizable button. You can make that do whatever you want. There's multiple different things that you can choose for it to do. As you can see, I usually like to put it on reject or end phone call. And then we have our voice recognition button, which won't do anything now because no device is connected. The voice recognition button basically will access Siri or Google Assistant on your phone in the lower trim levels. In any of the trims that have built-in navigation, this will also include built-in voice recognition as well. So higher trim levels for that capability. Right underneath that, you have a nice volume rocker or volume wheel, a nice knurled finish on that. It's also a mute button. And then underneath that, you have your answer button. On the back of the steering wheel, you can see we do have paddle shifts on this, which is kind of nice if you want to shift gears up and down. Pretty cool. And then behind the steering wheel, on the right-hand side, just a typical normal window wiper stock. Nothing too crazy here. Rear wipers, front wipers, and then of course, clean the rear window, clean the front window. But one thing that's cool about Hyundais is that when you adjust it, it'll show you in the screen exactly what setting you're on, which is kind of nice. On the left-hand side is your turn signal stock and headlight stock. You can keep the headlights in the full-on position all the time, or auto. Now, in full-on auto all the time, you'll have taillights during the day, so if it's foggy or snowy or whatever, this is the best place to keep it in. You do also have automatic high beams that only work if the headlights are also in auto. You've also got one-touch turn signal, which you can set to 3, 5, or 7 flashes. Having a look at the instrument cluster. Okay, so on the left side we have our digital speedometer and our digital tachometer on the right. Not really customizable other than the colors. So I believe, yeah, I can't change that right now, but you can actually set it up to change the colors based on the drive mode that you're in. However, there are multiple colors in the instrument cluster, so I will quickly change those now. So you can see this is style A, then we have style B and style C. So that's the extent of the customization of colors on the instrument cluster. On the bottom left, you can see we've got our e-brake currently on. Headlight information is there and there, so front and rear lights are on, headlights are on. This is an actual little screen. The outer two is just kind of digital lights and stuff like that, not actually screens. On the bottom left of the screen, then, we do have a speed limit information, so the forward-facing camera can actually see speed limit signs and then give you that information there. Right here it says which drive mode we're in. It's currently got auto hold enabled as well as the auto start stop system, and it is currently at 15 degrees outside and the vehicle has 17 kilometers on it. We are currently in park, so when I adjust the gear that we're in, you can see it actually shows you right there which gear we're putting it into, which is kind of cool. And then we have 230 kilometers of expected range on this tank of fuel. Underneath here, under the tachometer, we do have the engine temperature, and under the speedometer, the fuel gauge, fuel level. All right, so now I'll quickly run through each one of the screens here, controlling that with these two buttons on the steering wheel. So this one will cycle from left to right within the 3 menus, and then the little scroll wheel underneath that will allow me to go within the sub-menus of those individual screens. So starting with the one at the very top of the very left menu, we have our trip computer, which we can reset now by holding that scroll wheel button down. There we go. And if I scroll down once, we have our trip computer since refueling, so we'll reset that as well. I can scroll down one more time, and then another trip computer since the last time the trip computer was reset, which is going to be now. There we go. Scrolling down again is our auto stop timer. So every time the auto start stop system functions, it will start counting how long the engine was off for. So that's essentially what that is. We'll scroll down again, and it bounces back up to the top of the menu and the current trip information. Pressing that top button again on the steering wheel bumps us one over. You can see we have our sort of exterior sort of information, what's going on. You know, currently our brake lights are on, and we're parked, obviously, so there's nothing really going on around the car. This is kind of an interesting one. I like to say, if you can see this, just look out the windows. Means your eyeballs work. All right, so hitting that top button again and bouncing one over shows us our tire pressure monitor and our drive power distribution, which is just which wheels are getting power at any given time. All right, and then the last thing in front of me that we're gonna look at is the actual shifter. So shifter works pretty easily. I have a lot of customers that get in and they kind of turn this partial way, but that actually just puts you into neutral. So you got to roll it all the way forwards for drive, all the way backwards for reverse, and then press the end for park. Now, before you go into the comments and express your feelings behind a drive-by-wire shifter, a lot of people really like the old-fashioned shift column on the center console. I'll tell you this, one thing that this is really good for is if you come to a stop and you take your seatbelt off and swing the door open, it will automatically put the car into park for you. So if you forget to do that and, you know, have that danger of the car rolling away from you, you don't have to worry about that in something like this because it'll automatically put it into park. The other thing is when you shut the car off, it also automatically flips it into park for you. And then the last thing that I really like about it, well, two more things actually I like about it. One, it's really easy to go from forward to reverse if you're doing a multi-point turn. but also it provides a whole bunch of extra space in the center console. So if you have a look at the center console here, obviously there is no shifter. So you've got a whole ton of storage down here. There's no shift link to worry about. And you know, you got this cool little sort of storage console up top here as well. This has been redesigned for 2025 as well. If you've seen the 2024 center console, it's quite different. There's a lot less piano black in this vehicle. There is still some, you know, it's not too bad though, but just the layout here is just much better. Anyway, also going forward here, so we got a little spot to put our phone. It's not a wireless charger in this trim level. You got to go up to the next trim level for that. A couple of cup holders, which work well for cups of various sizes. It does have the little springy things to hold smaller cups. Reasonable sized center console storage, and another little spot for what have you. Now, as far as the other buttons here, so we have our drivetrain selector and our mode selector. So pressing drive terrain just flips it to terrain modes, and then I need to immediately move this up or down to actually select a mode. So let me show you what those modes are. Having a look at the instrument cluster here, you can see we've got normal, sport, and my drive. My drive is somewhat customizable. You can set that up in the infotainment system. But if I press a drive mode selector and go to terrain and then go down to snow, mud, or sand, those are going to change the all-wheel drive system to make it a little bit more aggressive in those different scenarios, and also the shift points and whatnot in the transmission, just make it better in the snow, mud, or sand. Now, Hyundai's all-wheel drive system was originally designed and engineered in Canada by a company called Magna International. They do still provide many of the components for the all-wheel drive system. It's called Hyundai H-Track, and honestly, it's a very, very good system. It's fully predictive. It's not going to necessarily wait for the front wheels to start slipping before putting power to the rear wheels. It does it under any sort of acceleration, and it also will then do that if you've already sort of hit your cruising speed and it detects slippage. Then of course it's going to put some power to the rear wheels as well. It's a really, really good system. So we have auto hold, which stops the vehicle from moving when you take your foot off the brake. The auto stop system can be disabled temporarily by pressing that button there. Hill descent assist, which works up to 40 kilometers an hour and basically acts like a temporary reverse cruise control system. It just stops the vehicle from exceeding the speed that it was going at when you let go of the brake. This one here will just simply turn on the backup camera. All right, having a look at in front of the center console storage, you can see we have a USB port here which connects directly to the screen or just charges. So currently, if it's blue, you'll notice it is just charging. If I press that, now it'll connect to the infotainment system. Right here is just a charger, so you can plug tablets, phones in there, whatever, and then you got another 12-volt power outlet here as well. Directly above that is our dual zone automatic climate control. So even in the entry-level Tucson, you can get dual zone climate control with some really nice features. For one, we have 3 levels on the automatic system, so you can actually have the aggressiveness of the auto system turned up or down, which is cool. It is dual zone with the synchronization capability, so if the sync is enabled, it will obviously synchronize the driver's side temperature. And then we have heated seats in this as well, so front heated seats, 3 levels for both. As I mentioned before, heated steering wheel. And check this out, so there is your recirculation button. If I pull the windshield washer fluid, it's going to actually recirculate the air for us so that we don't smell the exterior fluid, which is kind of cool. So right above the climate control system, we have our controls for our stereo. So we got volume as well as a power button. Now the power button will turn the radio on and off, but if you hold it down, it'll turn the whole screen off as well. The home button will always take you back to this home screen. Map button will take you to your map software in Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Search button is a global search. It allows you to search for settings, contact names, that sort of thing. Media will just take you to the last place that you're playing media from. And if you press it a second time, it'll ask you which source of media you want to play from. Okay, so that's kind of cool. You got your hazard button, seek and tracker, obvious. This is another customizable button. We like to set that to phone projection, so it'll be a quick and easy way of getting back into Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Setup is obvious, takes you to the infotainment setup, and not just the infotainment, but the car setup as well. There's a lot of things in there. This is just your tuning knob here, and then there's a little little tiny reset button right there. You use a pen to reset that if necessary. Up on the headliner, we have a manually adjustable rear view mirror, and then above that, you can see we've got individual map lights for both sides. Now, you can either turn those on manually from there, or you can just press this button and turns them all on, front and back. This one here just turns off the lights if the doors are open, and then you've got a call for roadside assistance and call for emergency assistance. Now, those two last buttons I mentioned, the roadside assistance and emergency assistance, so those are part of the Hyundai BlueLink system, which is free in Canada for an indefinite amount of time, at least 3 years though. And what's cool about BlueLink is not only do you have those buttons, you can call for roadside assistance and whatnot without a cell phone. If you get into an accident, it'll automatically call for emergency assistance to your location. You can also use your cell phone to remotely start the car, unlock the doors, lock the doors, find the car on a map, and various other cool things. When you remote start the car, you can do it in such a way that's different for summer versus winter. As an example, you can set it up to have the temperature at 18 degrees in the summer, and then in the winter you can have it set to 22 degrees and turn on the heated seats and the heated steering wheel and the front defrost and rear defrost. So a lot of customization ability there as well. All right, a couple points I'll touch on real quick with this screen. It is very customizable, so there's a lot of, polarizing opinions about the infotainment system from Hyundai, but when you know how to use it, it's actually very, very powerful, and it's super customizable as well. So I'll give you an example. Obviously, you're going to want to use the radio, but maybe the next most important thing for you is Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So let's put that there. Perhaps you never use the phone menu in here and you just use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Well, sure, then let's take that and shove it right off the screen, right? Now we have valet mode, vehicle diagnostics, service maintenance, that sort of thing. But, you can put whatever you want there. If you need the user manual often, you can slide that over and stick it right there, because when you open that, it gives you a QR code that you can use to scan and go directly into your user manual. Pretty cool. So there's a lot to know about this screen, and there's a lot of customization that many people who buy these vehicles simply don't know about. So I highly recommend checking out that additional video in the description below on how to use this system, because it is actually a really, really good system. And it does include wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Now, another thing on the screen, of course, is the backup camera. And check this out. It's a really, really nice clear image with very, very smooth dynamic steering lines that have really high refresh rate, actually. You can actually look straight down over the bumper as well, which is kind of cool, or you can just fill the whole screen up with camera. But the thing to note on this one, on this backup camera, is just how clear it is. Look at this. You can see the grain in the road behind us. There's a crack in the road there. You can really, really easily see those cars. My phone is actually not doing it justice because it's blurring out as I get a little bit closer here. Of course, you can also customize the backup camera. You can turn it on when you switch back to drive. I hate that system, the extend rear view mirror or monitor. You can also adjust the brightness and stuff like that as well. But generally, in its default form is where most people will have it, and it looks fantastic. And that's where we're going to leave it today. Guys, if you thought this video was helpful, please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any comments or suggestions for future videos, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below, let me know what you'd like to see, and if I missed anything in this one. If you have any questions, I'm also happy to answer as well. I do try to get back to absolutely everybody. If you don't get a response from me, I apologize. Just ask another question, I'll probably see it. I get probably 90% of the responses. So, but thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for getting this far. And until next time, have a wonderful day.